Good day, everyone. Thank you for being here today. My name is Divya Muninadan, and my metric ID is 4233006721D. Today, my group will be presenting a case study on TEONG MONG PENG versus R.E.A.L Education Group Sundar Mahal under the topic of industrialization and employment law. We will be discussing the background of the case, the key legal issues, and its outcome along with relevant insights. Let's begin our presentation. Before we move on, let me introduce our group members. We have Kumuda Aruldasan, Krushitika Gunalan, and myself, Divya Muninathan, and Pamela Susai, Maria Susa. Each of us has contributed to different aspects of this presentation to ensure it's both informative and engaging. Now let's get started.
Thank you, Divya. Good day, everyone. I am Shrutika Gunalan, and my matrix number is 4233006271D. We will begin our presentation by summarizing the case of TEONG MONG PENG versus R.E.A.L Education Group, which revolves around an employment dispute concerning demotions and constructive dismissal. The claimant TEONG MONG PENG argued that he was unfairly treated by his employer, which ultimately led to his resignation. He claimed that the demotion created an intolerable work environment, leaving him with no choice but to resign, thus filing for constructive dismissal. The industrial court had to determine whether the employer's actions were justified and whether the claimant's resignation was indeed a result of unfair treatment. The ruling in this case provides insight into the legal boundaries of employer decisions and employee rights concerning workplace fairness and job security. That's all from me. I will now pass the presentation to Pamela.
Thank you, Shrutika. Hi, ma'am. I'm Pamela here. I'm here to explain about three facts or issues from this case study. There are three issues, which is employment dispute on demotion and constructive dismissal, elegance of constructive dismissal, and court ruling and dismissal claim. This case involved a workplace dispute concerning demotion, salary reduction, and claim of constructive dismissal. The claimant, formerly a deputy principal, was reassigned as a computer science teacher with a lower salary. The employer justified this as part of an internal restructure for operational efficiency, arguing that it was not a punitive measure. However, the claimant believed the demotion was unfair and violated their employment rights. After reviewing the case, the court found that the employer had followed due process, including performance evaluation and discussion before making the decision. Since employment laws required fair procedures in demotions, the court ruled that the employer acted lawfully and did not breach any fundamental employment rights. The claimant also aligned constructive dismissal, arguing that the changes created an unbearable work environment, forcing them to reassign. However, to succeed in such a claim, an employee must prove that the employer fundamentally breached the contract, imposed unfair changes, and directly caused their resignation. The court found no evidence of such a breach. The demotion was an internal restructuring decision, not an act of coercion. The claimant continued working after the demotion, which contradicted their claim in intolerable conditions. The ruling reinforced the constructive dismissal requires clear proof of unfair treatment severe enough to make continued employment impossible. Ultimately, the industrial court dismissed the claimant case, ruling that the employer acted within legal boundaries and did not violate the employment contract. The court emphasized that companies have the right to restructure roles as long as they comply with employment laws and contractual obligations. Since there was no evidence of forced resignation or unfair treatment, the claim of constructive dismissal lacked merit. Additionally, the employer had followed the procedure in implementing the demotion and salary reduction. Ensuring fairness, this case highlights the importance of due process in employment decision and reinforces that while employers must act lawfully, employees must provide strong evidence when claiming unfair treatment.
Thank you, Mamila. Good day, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kumada Aruldasan, Matrix ID 4233001491. Today, I will present a brief analysis of the case TEONG Peng versus R.E.A.L Education Group, Sanjay Bahat, focusing on legal provision, key case law, and court decision. This case was heard in the Industrial Court of Malaysia, where the claimant, Yang Mong Peng, allegated conservative dismissal after being demoted from deputy principal to teacher with a salary reduction. He claimed that his amounted to a breach of contract, forcing him to resign. The main issue before the court was whether the employee's action was justified the claimant's resignation. Okay, now we look into relevant legal provision. The case was brought under Section 20-3 of Industrial Relations Act 1967, which allows employees to challenge unfair dismissal. The court also relied on Section 30-5 of the same act, which requires decision to be based on equity, good conscience, and substantial merit, rather than strict legal formalities. We will look into the case law on contract dismissal. Okay, let's talk about the concept of constructive dismissal. In this case, it was very centralized. The key case law includes Wong Chi Hong versus K-Take Organization 1988, which established that an employee may claim contract dismissal if the employer fundamentally breaches the employment contract. Second, we will look into the case of Anwar Abdul Rahim v. Bayer in 1998, which clarified that the employee's contract must go to the roof of the contract. Third, we will look into Govindasamy Munisamy versus Industrial Court Malaysia 2007, which laid out a four-step test, requiring the claimant to prove, first, a fundamental breach by the employer, second, a serious impact on the employment relationship, third, a reasonable opportunity for the employer to rectify the issue, fourth, the employee's prompt resignation due to a breach. Now, we will look into the application of law in this case. The claimant argued that his demotion and salary reduction amounted to a fundamental breach. However, the court found that the employer had a valid reason for the demotion, including claimant's misconduct and such as insubordination and inappropriate communication through email. The employer's actions were within management rights and did not breach the contract. The claimant continued working after the demotion, contradicting his claim of forced resignation. In conclusion, the industrial court dismissed the case, ruling that the case claimant was not constructively dismissed. This judgment reinforced the principles of constructive dismissal, particularly the four-step test, and highlights that not all demotion and salary reduction qualify as unfair dismissals. Employers have the right to discipline employees, provided they act lawfully. Thank you for listening to me. Now I'll pass it to Divya Muninathan.
Thank you, Kumuda, for your great presentation. Thank you for being here today. My name is Divya Munnadan and my metric ID is 4233006721D. Today I will be presenting the key aspects of the contractive and dismissal case between TEONG Mong Peng and R.E.A.L Education Group Sdn Bhd. We will explore three main points. The first, the pros of the legal framework for contractive dismissal. Second, cons of the employer's communication and process transparency. And the last, the balanced outcome of the court's decision. Let's begin with the first point. Pros. Comprehensive legal framework for the contractive dismissal. Contractive dismissal occurs when an employee's action breach fundamental terms of the employment contract, forcing an employee to resign. In this case, the Industrial Code adhered to legal precedents like Wang Chi Hong versus Cathay Organization in 1988 and also Anwar Abdul Rahim versus Bayer in 1998, ensuring fairness and consistency. The court thoroughly evaluated whether the employer's action constituted a serious breach and whether the claimant gave a proper notice for the employer to remedy the situation. This structured approach helps balance employee and employer rights. It protects employees from unfair treatment while also preventing frivolous claims that could harm employers. This ensures predictability in outcomes and encourage employees to follow grievance procedures and before resigning. Cons. Employees' ambiguity in communication and transparency. One of the significant issues in this case was the employees' lack of clear communication, which fueled confusion and dissatisfaction. The management failed to provide a timely response when the claimant sought clarification about his role as a deputy principal. Instead of addressing concerns and transparent, the employer's silence created speculation and mistrust. The disciplinary process was also rigid and punitive with normal action taken for minor infractions that could have been handled informally. Such an approach exaggerated the situation unnecessarily, contributing to the claimant's perceptions of a hostile environment. Clear communication and a balanced disciplinary process could have avoided this conflict. Pros and cons of the court's decision. A balanced outcome. The court's decision to dismiss the claim was based on a thorough review of facts. It acknowledged the employee's right to reorganize its workforce while protecting against misuse of contractive dismissal claims. This ensures employees retain the flexibility to make operational decisions without fear of unjustified lawsuit. However, from the claimant's perspective, the decision may feel overly rigid. Not all workplace grievances can be documented as contractual breaches. The court's reliance on the objective standard may overlook the broader context of the claimant's experience, such as workplace culture and management style. Employees may hesitate to resign promptly due to financial insecurity, which complicates the expectation of swift action. In conclusion, this case highlights the importance of a strong legal framework, clear communication from employees, and the need for a balanced judicial approach. Both employees and employers should aim for transparency and fairness to avoid conflicts escalating into legal dispute. Thank you for your time and attention. I hope this presentation provided a valuable insight into the case and its implication. With that, I will pass to the next presenter, Shrutika, who will take this through solution to prevent the future issues.
Thank you, Divya, for the clear explanation. Now, I will conclude our presentation by discussing the solution and recommendation to prevent disputes like constructive dismissal. First, clear employment policies are essential. Companies should have written policies that clearly define the reasons for demotion and set transparent criteria for promotions and demotions. These help ensure fairness and consistency in decision making. Next, a fair disciplinary process should be in place. Employers must implement a progressive system including warnings and performance reviews to give employees opportunities to improve before any demotions occurs. Effective communication is also crucial. Employers should openly discuss demotions decision with employees and provide written explanation to avoid misunderstandings. Additionally, companies should establish an employee grievance mechanism to follow employee to raise concern internally before resorting to legal action. On the employee side, they should have a clear understanding of their legal rights. Knowing their employment contract and seeking legal advice before making a constructive dismissal claim can help them make informed decisions. Instead of immediately resigning, employees should also consider seeking mediation first by discussing concern with HR or management. This can often resolve disputes without legal actions. Finally, performance improvement efforts are key. Employees should address performance concern early, seek feedback, and take advantage of training opportunities to enhance their skills. By implementing these strategies, both employers and employees can maintain a fair and professional work environment. That's all from us. Thank you.